And we are rolling on this 22nd day of October at UCLA, where it's another beautiful day. The sunshine is shining. And we're about to hear from COMM, who's going to share with us 3 feelings that he had from his movie.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Khan, and today I want to start off with some question about what do you define success as, and what do you think you need to do in order to achieve it. For me personally, success just used to be about earning a lot of money and gaining fame, and I think the best way to achieve it is just to gain fame as fast as possible. It all seemed logical to me until I came upon this film called Kung Fu Hustle. Today, I want to say what you are about this film because it changes the way I view success. And it's not just about earning money and getting fame. And it did so by making me feel foolish, enlightened, and inspired. The film Kung Fu Hustle depicts the life of Sing, a homeless and weak man who's also trying to become successful. Ho Sam, a film commentator from Film Society of Lincoln Center, critiqued the film as striking a balance between necessary cynicism and sentimental nostalgia by at one muting them for laughter and asking them to create a world of rich human complexity beneath its deceptive surface. I have to agree with his critique because although this film contains a lot of humor and comedy, it also offers many moral stories about human complexity, and one of them is related to success. First, I want to talk about how this film made an impact on me by making me feel foolish. The scene that made me feel foolish was when Sing, a weak man by then, decided to join the X gang, one of the most notorious gang in China in the movie. Because he thinks that the fastest ways to gain fame is to enter a well-known organization, no matter the cost. Unfortunately, they sent him to many dangerous missions afterward, and he nearly died in the process. This reminds me of when I tried to become a #1 student in middle school by getting a lot of A's. However, I foolishly think that I don't have to study for all my class, so I decided to look at my friend's test on the day of the exam. And I feel somewhat foolish afterward, but I continue to do so. Until one day, on a history exam final, my teacher decided to separate us all to prevent cheating. And I basically bombed my final exam because I did not study for it at all. And afterward, all I have to say to myself is, man, I'm foolish. The second way that this film moved me was when it made me feel enlightened. The scene that made me feel enlightened was when the ex-gang were bullying the village that belonged to 2 landlords who's a Kung Fu master themselves, but decide not to fight back because they don't want trouble. However, 3 of the Kung Fu masters in the village decide to fight back because they're going to take the humiliation. Unfortunately, afterward, they were kicked out by the landlord because the landlord don't want any retribution from the ex-gang. This reminds me of the time when me and my friend were also bullied in middle school because we were immigrants and we did not know how to speak English properly. So we also decided to fight back to protect ourselves. However, we were all sent to the dean afterward and get disciplined properly for our irrational behavior. And me and my friend felt really mad and unjustified afterward because we were just trying to protect ourselves. However, after watching this scene from the movie, I realized that it is true that all of our actions have consequences, and we can only truly become successful when we know how to handle our irrational emotion. Lastly, the third way that this film moved me was when it made me feel inspired. Toward the end of the movie, when Sing, a Kung Fu master now, decided not to take on that path and gain fame, but to go back to his village and help out the landlord, whom helped him become a Kung Fu master. This reminds me of the time when my brother returned from college for the first time. Now he has a proper job, but instead of spending money on luxurious items like game and computer before, he now give most of his earnings to my parents. And he also helped out with quite like laundry and cooking food, which he never did before in the house. Now I can see that he is a really different man because he's able to carry out responsibility and able to do them all efficiently. I feel that he is now a truly successful man, and I am greatly inspired by both him and Sing from the movie. In summary, I have told you 3 ways of how this film moved me. It made me feel foolish when it reminded me of the time when I cheated in class. It made me feel enlightened when I see the consequences of my action. and it made me feel inspired seeing my brother being a responsible man. Looking back, I feel great that I watched the film because the three emotions that it evoked within me changes the way I view success. It's just about not gaining fame or earning a lot of money, but also about taking on responsibility and carry them out. And the best way to do that is to avoid foolish and irrational action. I hope after watching this film, you can start thinking about what success really is. And you don't have to agree with me, but at least think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. 4:53. Thank you for waiting respectfully outside. Let's start on this side today.
Hi, my name is Alexia.
Hi, Alexia.
So, I really enjoyed the structure and the message of your speech. It was really well put together. The only thing I would say is that because you do have a slight accent, I would just slow down a little bit so that we could understand you a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you were here. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
I think I agree with what Alexia said. You could probably slow down. Like, you seem quite nervous, so you were, trying to rush through some parts. And also, you could probably walk more confidently because you were, walking really slowly. I was like, okay. Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Amanda, those are good comments. Akan, let me talk to you about your speech. Can you take a step over that way? Yeah. Good. Thank you. Well, you started with kind of a rhetorical question and asking them, how do you define success? And that's an important question for everyone to think about at some point in their lives. And you tied back to that nicely, so I was pleased by that. I'd like to have the name of the movie be a little bit more prominent with your voice. Kung Fu Hustle. It wasn't one of those big blockbusters that everyone's seen, so it helps that people know which movie you're speaking of. Your thesis statement was fine. Your significant statement was excellent. I liked the way you memorized your quote. It showed you have a good memory, and you also agreed with it, so that was excellent. I have to agree with Amanda, though. You in particular need to start slow so people get used to your accent, and they can then you can pick up the pace a little. But start slower and work on a variety of paces and speeds throughout your speech. On your main body, the first feeling, and I think this was probably your best one maybe, was how you felt foolish, and you acknowledged that you cheated in middle school in math class, and you peeked at your partner's answers and slid through. But of course we can fool some of the people some of the time, but of course not all of the people all of the time. And your instructor, separated you and you were left high and dry. Remember to return to the emotion more and saying, so when I failed that exam, I felt so foolish and I learned a real important lesson. It's only a fool that cheats. Okay? On your second emotion, it's kind of a tough one to communicate. Enlightened. I think of Buddha. So I don't know what it means when I feel enlightened. I guess I mean illuminated. I get something. There's a science fiction book in the 60s called Stranger in a Strange Land, and the author invented a word called grok, which means to really understand deeply. And I think that's what you were trying to get at here, was you really understood something deeply. You told us the story of bullies, and then you fought back, and then you were disciplined. What I didn't get, and what didn't get returned to, and what got all messed up, when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see that we didn't really come back to enlightened. It all got kind of muddled up, and you kind of gave a philosophical comment. But I lost the complete feeling of enlightenment or grokking or understanding that you were trying to communicate. On your third emotion, inspired, you were inspired by your brother, who returned home and was no longer an egocentric, self-centered little boy, and was a man who realized that he needed to share the responsibilities of the home and share money with your parents and do the dishes and share in taking out the garbage and do things that real men do. And you were inspired by him. Right? And I would have spent a little bit more time on your inspiration, your feeling of inspiration. And so I was really inspired by my brother. And what's his name?
Hung.
Hung?
Yeah.
See, I'm really inspired by Hung. I was just so impressed by how he changed when he came back. See?
Oh yeah, because
Give a
I
name.
Brother, so that's why in the speech I put brother in there too.
Yes, yes. But more details in a story make it realer. Now, you were rushing because you wanted to get it in under 5 minutes. The place to cut, everybody, is on your plot summaries. They were much too long. They can be a sentence long. We didn't need to know all the little details about the gangs, the bullies. Second way the movie was made feel enlightened. The scene was when the Axe gang bullied people. This reminded me of when I was bullied. That's all you needed. Just a setup. Okay? Your summary was fine. Your conclusion was okay. It should say there should be no doubt that this film, and repeat the name of the title, really did move me. And your tie back was excellent, and you did it within time. Now, your goals are here on the back. You said move 3 times, more hand movement, and less and you know.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
So I think I did move 3 times, but like Amanda said, I guess I didn't move more confident. So maybe next
You were
time.
kind of a ginger stepping, yeah.
So yeah, so I did that, but I need to improve on that definitely. And then I feel like I have a lot of hand movement during the speech, but I need to go home and watch it to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And third one is and you know. I don't think I say any you know.
Okay, and so it's getting better. And what I would say is when you when you practice with a live person, have them raise their hand when you say or you know, so you realize, because some people say like and you know so often it's unconscious. They don't even know, they're not even aware they're saying it.
Yeah, I actually did that with my roommate, so I guess that's why I didn't say.
Yes. You did a nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to go next if possible.
Are you a C?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well.
I had to do it.
What's your last name?
Bradford.
Bradford Alexia.
Yes.
Okay. And your goals are somewhere where your canals.
Right here.
Oh, up there. Okay. Okay, you're a different height.
Just a little shorter.
Yes. Alexia stands before you, managing attention. She's reading, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to yourself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexia.
Hi, Alexia.
So I'm going to start out with a quote. Albert Schweitzer once said that sometimes our light goes out, but is quickly blown again into flame by an encounter with another human being. This quote is directly applicable to the film that I am going to share with you today. Tammy is a movie about a woman who loses her car, her job, and her marriage all in the same day, which propels her to embark on a road trip with her alcoholic grandmother to see Niagara Falls. For a moment, it seems as if Tammy's light has gone out, but is quickly reignited by her hilarious relationship with her grandmother. So, Thurza Wakefield, a reviewer for Sight and Sound magazine, said of the film that for a comedy, and it is funny, Tammy has uncommon depth, and the grandmother and granddaughter relationship is realistically naughty. Well, I completely agree with this statement. I loved that not only was Tammy hilarious, but that it made me feel a wealth of different emotions. So, today I'm going to share with you 3 different emotions that the film evoked in me. So first, the film made me feel sad for the loss of my own grandmother. It made me feel nostalgic for the fun times that my grandmother and I were able to have. And lastly, it made me feel hopeful for being able to overcome issues with self-confidence. This film deals with issues that we all deal with, in themes like family and feeling lost that I know you will all be interested in because we can all relate. So the first way that the film made me feel is that it made me feel sad as it reminded me of how I felt when I lost my own grandmother. So there's a particular scene in the movie where Tammy and her grandma are having breakfast, and Tammy expresses her sadness and anger toward her grandma for when her grandma left her when she was a child without so much as even saying goodbye to her. The reason this this brought up feelings of abandonment in me for when my own grandma died. And even though my grandma didn't leave me intentionally like Tammy's grandma did, I still felt the same kind of heartache. So when I was in the 8th grade, my grandma got sick and had to have surgery. Well, she was getting better, which of course was amazing. And I remember going to see her in the hospital, and of course being a little bit scared, but I sat with her and I held her frail hand and just spent time talking to her. So she was supposed to have a full recovery and her prognosis was good. But only a few days later, I remember coming home to my parents telling me words that I never expected to hear. Your grandma had complications and passed away. So, while watching this film, these same feelings were evoked in me, and I felt I felt just as lost and abandoned as Tammy did. So, on a little bit of a lighter note, the next emotion that the film evoked in me was nostalgia for the fun times that me and my grandma were able to have together. So, in the film, Tammy and her grandma embark on a whirlwind adventure and find themselves rekindling the friendship and relationship that they had when Tammy was little. And so, of course, this reminded me of me and my own grandma. And I have to say that my grandma was not an ordinary, what you think of when you think of grandma. She was a foul-mouthed, cigarette-smoking Pepsi addict, but we were just as close as could be. So on this one particular day, I remember my grandma picking me up a little bit earlier than normal from school. And so, of course, as soon as I got in the car, I knew that something was a little different, and I wondered. And so my grandma looked over at me, and she smiled, and she said, "Mija, look in the back seat. Someone wants to say hi to you." I'm like, okay. Confused, of course. I looked behind me, and there was the cutest puppy I had ever seen. So not only did I get to leave class early, but my grandma surprised me with a puppy. So, of course, this was an extremely happy time, and watching Tammy and her grandma together reminded me of this same happy time. And so, the last emotion that this film evoked in me was one of hopefulness. Hopefulness in being able to overcome issues with self-confidence. So, the incident in the film that made me hopeful was seeing Tammy's transformation. She starts off, and of course she's hilarious, but she hides behind self-abnegation. But throughout the film, she's able to fully love and accept herself. And this reminded me of some of my own issues in dealing with self-confidence. So I have to admit that standing in front of you all for the first time to do my respect speech was one of the scariest and most intimidating things that I've had to do in a long time. I honestly stood up here convinced that I was going to fail. But luckily I didn't, and I was able to give my speech successfully. And so seeing Tammy made me realize that all I needed to do was have a little more self-confidence. And so seeing her transformation made me hopeful for the day that I will be able to also transform and overcome my self-doubts. So, in summary, I have told you 3 ways that the film made me feel. It made me feel sad, it made me feel nostalgic, and lastly, it made me feel hopeful. So, I know that there should be no doubt in this room that this film really moved me because clearly it made me feel a wealth of different emotions. So as I said in the beginning, Albert Schweitzer once said that sometimes our light goes out but is blown again into instant flame by an encounter with another human being. So I hope that all of you remember this quote if you're ever feeling a little bit lost, because just like Tammy found out, our flames can be reignited by even the most unexpected people.
Thank you. Get back in the green box. Thank you.
Got too excited.
Yeah, that was 606.
Too excited.
Next time.
Okay. We're somewhere. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
And I really like your speech, and you memorized the film review and the quote. You didn't need your notepad, so it means you are really prepared for the speech, and you seem confident as well. And your stories really moved me. I can really relate to your stories.
Yeah. It wasn't just a little short, that's an emotion thing, but her stories led up to the emotion and included the emotion. That was effective. Yes, please. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Will.
Hi, Will.
I really liked your speech as well. I thought it was excellent. I guess it needs to be a little shorter, but also I thought that the way you fleshed out the stories was really good as well. So shorter, but don't lose all the stuff in the stories.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let me get you back in. I like the Schweitzer quote. You might tell your audience who he was if you think that's important. And I like the way you linked it back to meeting somebody else or meeting your grandmother or meeting a special person to bring your light back on in your life. So that was good intro tie back. So that worked nicely. I timed you out at about 1:40 for your intro before you got to the main body. You didn't need the plot summary. I think everyone's seen Tammy, honestly. And, one person didn't. Okay. But, okay. Woman loses her car and job and goes on a road trip with her mother. Boom. Even if you need that, right? Your SIG statement was excellent. I liked your memorization of your review, and that you agreed with it. That was excellent. Try to just do it right on one side of the paper, if you could, please, in the future. The first emotion that you were going to communicate for us was sadness, right? So you had a good thesis preview. Let me just add that. So you tried to tell us the sadness of losing your grandmother, and you went through the story of her surgery, and she was fine. And so it was great detail, and everything was cool and kosher, and then boom, your mother sits you down. The only thing I would just add, and it's a quibble because you did a really excellent job telling that story, is just when the moment your mother tells you, relive the sadness. I felt so sad. Relive that sadness. It's what I call felt sensing. Relive that moment again, so we feel it again too. But that was I think your best emotion. Your second emotion, nostalgic. It's a little tricky to communicate nostalgia, but and I thought your plot summary was a little long on this one, but the story was excellent, and we're all going to remember your grandmother bringing you a puppy, and how happy you felt at getting that, and how nostalgic this made you in watching the movie and remembering the happy time with your grandmother. On the third emotion you tried to communicate, and again, this is kind of a tricky one to communicate, hopeful. And here you said that you used the respect speech as I was going to fail, I was doomed, you got through it, and this made me hopeful that I can transform myself and evolve into a great speaker, and I'd say really you're on the road. So I guess we got hopeful out of that, sort of, but I don't know. Summary was fine, conclusion was fine, tieback was excellent. You need to time yourself, stay in the green box. Let's talk about your canais, your constant and never-ending improvement. You said, I want to make an emotional connection with the audience. I want to incorporate movement, and I want to speak with confidence. How'd it go?
Well, I incorporated my movements. I just needed to stay in
the
guideline
green
boxes.
area. Yeah, I had to do all kinds of contortions with the camera, but that's cool.
Yes. And I think my stories helped me definitely make an emotional connection.
Yeah.
And then what was the one?
Speak with confidence.
Oh yeah, I thought I did great. So.
Yeah, you did a nice job. Very nice. Just, the overtime hurt you, but
Yeah.
did you time it, and were you under when you timed it?
I did. I was right at the mark when I timed it, like 5:05. I noticed myself stumble like with my words, and so I kind of had to go back and repeat certain things. So that's kind of where I think I gained a little more time.
Okay, good. You did a nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a minute. Are you a C?
No, actually, I'm the last one of B.
No, I'm doing C's first, so we'll come back to you. So I'll have a seat.
Okay, but
We'll get to you. Don't worry. Okay, let's hear from Zoe. Oh, it's your birthday? Do you want us to sing happy birthday
no,
to
that's
you?
okay. Please don't.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you, and many more. So how old are you?
I'm 20 today.
Oh, 20. So you're almost legal.
Almost.
Almost legal. Okay. Ooh, you're tall. Okay. Let's see if I can do something about that. You take a step forward, Zoe. Yeah. Okay, that works. And try to stay in the green, behind the green box. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
So I'm going to.
She's writing, so wait for her. Let's start again.
Hi guys, I'm Zoe again.
Hi, Zoe again.
I'm going to start my speech off by quoting the poet Lord Byron. He once said that it is singular how soon we lose the impression of what ceases to be before us. A year impairs, a luster obliterates. There's little distinct left without an effort of memory. Today I'm going to tell you about a film that really moved me. This film is called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It centers around two characters who dated for many years, had a terrible breakup, and decided to undergo a process to get their memories of each other erased. Peter Kaufman of The Guardian said, "Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is suffused with Kaufman's unique charm, his existential drollery, his humane affection for the lonely and vulnerable. It is a very Kaufman-esque film, technically ingenious and sophisticated," and I couldn't agree more with that statement. This film really moved me. It made me feel sad when I thought about my mom. It made me feel nostalgic when I thought about my summertime in East Hampton and Montauk. And it even made me laugh out loud when I thought about a funny incident that was paralleled in this film. The first incident in this film that made me feel sad was when Joel realizes that his ex-girlfriend Clementine has had her memory erased of him. He stands in front of this woman and she has no idea who he is. He's so confused when he looks at her with a blank stare in her eyes. The reason this scene made me feel sad was because I too had to deal with someone I love losing her memory. One day when I was 12 years old, my mom was driving my brother and I to school when suddenly she took a wrong turn. She drove my brother and I for about 15 minutes in the complete opposite direction of school. My brother and I looked at each other and laughed. How could my mom have forgotten where my school was? She had been driving us there for 8 years. When my mom finally realized that she was going in the wrong direction, she had no idea how she had gotten us there. 3 days later, my mom was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. Over the 2 years that my mom fought brain cancer, she slowly lost the memories of me and my brother that were so important to her. Our class schedules, our friends' names, our favorite foods. Like Joel and Clementine, my mom lost the memories that made her her. She couldn't remember what her best friend's name was, where she put her shoes in the morning, and it really made her life difficult because she lost a sense of who she was and the memories that made up her life. Like Joel watching Clementine get her memory erased, I had to sit in front of my mom and watch as she forgot who I was and who my brother was as well. So this made me really sad. The second incident in this movie that made me feel a very strong emotion was a sense of nostalgia. And it's a much happier emotion than sadness. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. I felt nostalgia when Joel and Clementine meet for the first time on the beach in Montauk. Much of the film is shot in Montauk, New York, which is a place I spend a lot of my summers with my family. The incident that reminded me, that created nostalgia was Joel and Clementine decide to leave the party and explore the beach instead of socializing. This reminded me of a time when I was at a bonfire with a bunch of my friends and we got tired of socializing, so we decided to run down to the waves, and it was pitch dark out. And the second we put our feet onto the wet sand, it lit up. We had stumbled across a patch of bioluminescent algae, and we were kicking it, and sand was illuminating in the air, and it was really just a beautiful moment of exploration on the beach, and a memory that I'll remember for a long time. So when I watched that scene of Joel and Clementine adventuring on the beach, I was smiling, but I also felt a pang of sadness in my heart because I knew that was a memory that I once had and that I would always remember fondly. The third way that this film moved me was it made me laugh out loud. The incident in this film that made me laugh out loud was when Joel gets his identity stolen by the doctor that erases Clementine's memory. Now, you might be asking yourself, why are you laughing at that? Well, I similarly had a very comical but a little bit scary incident happen to me. One day I was in my kitchen and I vainly searched my name on the app Instagram and a bunch of my pictures popped up. But the person posting the pictures was certainly not me. After a lot of investigation, I realized a girl from Hong Kong had actually stolen all my pictures off Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and was impersonating me. And I was really shocked at first. And when I watched this film and I saw Joel find out that his identity was stolen, he was also really shocked. And then once I finally got the situation resolved, I kind of just laughed a lot at the absurdity of the fact that you can get your identity stolen based on someone taking your pictures offline. And I laughed. When I saw this happen to Joel, I laughed because it's just an absurd, funny situation that can happen in this modern day and age. So in summary, I have told you that how this film made me feel sad when I thought about my mom's battle against brain cancer. And it made me feel nostalgic when I remembered my summers on the beach in Montauk. And it even made me laugh out loud at the absurdity of getting my identity stolen. There should be no doubt in this room that Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind really moved me. Like Lord Byron said, there is a little distinct left without an effort of memory. So we must hold on to the memories that we cherish and accept the ones that make us sad, because in the end of the day, those memories are the ones that make us who we are and the ones that will make us who we become.
.609.
Riley.
Hi, Riley.
I really enjoyed a lot of the speech. I thought you were very confident, and I thought your stories evoked a lot of emotion in everybody and were relatable to them.
Great. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Khan.
Hi, Con.
And I think because you were holding the papers, so your hand was behind your back most of the time. Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you were moving around a lot.
Pacing.
3 times, so I'm not sure if it's bad or good, but yeah.
Yeah, it's distracting.
Yeah.
You're pacing, not standing and delivering.
Yeah.
Okay, those were good thoughts for you to consider. Let me go through this, Zoe. You have your hands behind your back now. People think you have a gun back there, so you want to.
These paper guys.
I can't stress enough that old cliche, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression, right? So you chose a low poet Lord Byron, really long and convoluted and wordy quote that you had a hard time remembering and getting through. If that's the case, I recommend you choose a different one or something simpler. The way you distilled it down to the end and your tie back to just the essence of it, which is that memories are what give us personality and make life worth living, would have been better than when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube. You'll see it was just, you didn't get the whole quote out, and it seemed a little incoherent. Or Voltaire wrote, God gave us a memory so we might have roses in December. And, that's a simpler way to say that, when we lose people, we can always remember them, and we have our memories of them, say. But that's a simpler quote, say a shorter one. Okay, your quote was good. You agreed with it. Your significance statement was fine. And you gave us your 3, good preview. Well, let's talk about the first emotion. And that was sadness. And what you told us was an incredibly sad story, a horrible story, really, of your mother having a brain tumor, what you called terminal brain cancer. And it's a very sad thing, and we all inferred that it must have been very sad for you. What you could have done in telling the story was put yourself more into the narrative. And said stuff like, you put yourself into to saying that word sad and when, she couldn't remember our schedule, I was really sad. And when she, began to lose it all, and she was trying to, I was sadder and sadder, knowing I was going to lose my mom. And get into communicate your emotion of sadness, rather than let us just feel sad about the circumstance and the story that you faced. So you were trying to get a sad feeling from your audience. I call it kind of without re-experiencing the emotion much. Okay, you see?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. On your second emotion, and I say, when you watch yourself tonight, I apologize, you probably are off camera a little bit and your head went up over the top, and you didn't go to this left much. You didn't. Let me see you walk 3 times the way you've been instructed.
I just was trying not to leave the square because.
Okay, well, you go over there. I just mean don't go in front of the square. You can go over into there, yeah, but just don't go in front of the
Okay.
that line, yeah.
I was a little confused because he said just to like
Stay in the square, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. That's my fault. Okay, let's see you go over to that side. 1, 2, 3. Tell them your first sadness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your second story. You come in front of the line. See, stay back behind the line. See, do you see the line I'm talking
This
about?
one?
Yeah, the line of the front of the green box. Just pretend it goes all the way along. Yeah, there you go. And then back to center. Your pacing became distracting, as your classmate pointed out, and that was diminished your effectiveness a little bit. Your nostalgic story was good, kicking up the sand and remembering that wonderful moment at night when all that happened, and that was. The nostalgia was well communicated, I thought, so that was good. On your laughing out loud, I guess it took us a while to get to your emotion of laughing out loud. I guess I was kind of half horrified hearing your story that someone had in Hong Kong had stolen your identity and had become Chloe. But yeah, I guess this happens. And but you finally did get to the emotion in the end and laughing about it. So and remember to say, and that's why it made me laugh out loud, and that's why I'm just laughing about it now. And your tie back was fine. Again, did you time yourself when you were practicing, and was it under 5? And
I did, yeah. I think that I was stumbling a little bit and adding pauses, trying to get slower, and that's why it went over 5.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, there's a lot to say for the goodness in this film speech, but just work on the things that I detail, and you'll be much more effective next time. Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to Karen. Is Karen here? Karen Chu?
She's not here.
No such is she absent?
Yeah.
Oh, 0. Okay, that's why I do this. Yushi. Is Yushi here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Yushi, let's do it. Okay. And your kanais are somewhere?
Yeah.
They're there. Just give me a second. Okay, Lisa stands before you, managing attention in the power stance. Take a half a step back, please. That's good, yeah, good. Just communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
And there's a life philosophy that I really like. Get busy living or get busy dying. As you guys can probably tell from my voice, I've been sick recently. And so whenever I try to move or just trying to talk, it just suddenly hurts. And I never know when it's gonna hurt. But I still try to remain active just because I know it's a healing pain, not a dying pain. Sorry guys. Today I'm gonna share with you guys a film that I really like, The Shawshank Redemption. It made me feel homesick, it made me feel rewarded, and it also made me feel determined. Ron Reed reviews this film as follows. The real battle against evil and despair is fought in the hard everyday decisions of the ordinary, faithful people who choose not to give in, much like the men in Shawshank. I totally agree with him in that every day, in everyone, there's two figures. One is anti-different, one is the other. And you're just choosing between the opportunity to surrender to the challenges, like the talking I'm giving right now, or just the chance to participate in life and to dig your own tunnels. So the first way the film moved me was it made me feel homesick. The incident that the film made me homesick was the first night all the newbies got to the prison after being displayed on the truck and having wages bet on them and being cleaned harshly, and the fat guy started crying during the middle of the night and started yelling, I don't belong here, I don't belong here, okay. I don't belong here, I want to go home, I want my mom. And that incident just reminded me of my very first day of my high school boarding high experience. So I went to boarding high, and the first day, my dad was on a business trip, my mom was on vacation with my siblings, and they had their driver drive me to school along with my suitcases. But after I got there, I was just on my own. So on top of the busy schedule I had on my first day, I still need to get my room ready and make my bed, well as all my roommates had their parents or parents help them. So at the end of the night, I was just too tired to like even cry or yell for my mom, but it was just a moment of vulnerability that I feel like I can really use some help from my parents, and it's just a moment when I really miss them. And the second incident the movie really moved me was that it made me feel
Rewarded.
Rewarded, yes, that's the word. Yeah. So the scene in the film was after Andy uses his financial knowledge to help get him and his co-workers all the ice beers, and they were just drinking beers after a hard day of the work on top of the roof with twilight and ice beers in their hands. It was just a really chill moment, and that reminded me of the last night of my volunteering trip in Honduras. It happened this past summer, and it was a really long week. We had to work like 17 hours a day, and we only had cold showers. If we wanted to use the bathroom, we had to walk like outside the community to use the bathroom. But at the end of the week, before we left the last night, we had some beers and some wine, and a dance floor and a DJ just to have some fun together. It and it made me forget about all the frustration I experienced because of the language barrier, because my Spanish is not that great, and it made me forget about the disappointments that I experienced while trying to convince the local families to join the Gaharula, which is the community bank we were trying to set them up with. It just made me feel rewarded because all the hard work me and my fellow volunteers put into the community is actually gonna make a difference in the community to make their life better. So that's the second way the movie actually really moved me. And the third way the movie really moved me was it made me feel determined. The scene was obviously Andy spent 19 years of his life digging a tunnel and actually freed himself from Shawshank prison. It actually reminded me of my preparation for an American college. So at the beginning of my high school, my dad made it crystal clear that he didn't want me to go to American college. He wanted me to stay in China. But by the end of the junior year, I realized that's not something I want. I really wanted an education abroad. So I started preparing for SAT tests instead of the Chinese college entrance test I'm supposed to be preparing about. It was over the summer before senior year of high school, so I was at home. I wasn't at the boarding house, so I had to hide all the English materials from my dad, so he didn't find out that I'm actually doing something he doesn't want me to do. So that's just the same as when Andy was digging his tunnels. He had the posters of some hot lady blocking the tunnel. So I was also hiding all my own tunnel, which is the English materials and SAT prep. I've told you guys how this film really made me feel, and made me feel very homesick, and made me feel rewarded, and made me feel determined. Just as Andy Dufresne said, get busy living or get busy dying. We all have the chance to dig our own tunnel, and why not just dig our own tunnel and live your own life, not to other people's expectations. Thank you.
Thank you. 6:45. We'll go here. Thank you for waiting respectfully outside.
Hi, I'm Peyton.
Hi, Peyton.
I think you did a really great job, especially for being sick. I know, like, your throat and stuff, like, you still did a really great job. Just the fact that you still were willing to go today and just, like, suffered through and stuff. And you still did a really good job of enunciating and projecting as much as you could. And you still seemed really confident, like that didn't affect your speech at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton. Prisma?
Hi, I'm Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, I think you did really well. I guess for improvement, I don't know what to particularly say because you were sick, so you couldn't do the speech as well as you probably could have if you were better. But mostly, I guess it was just the talking and this, maybe you could have asked to switch with someone for a different day, maybe to give the speech.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Well, Lisa, thank you for manning up and coming today on your day that you're scheduled. That was, I respect you for that. You chose one of the best quotes out of the film, get busy living or get busy dying, and that's quite a memorable quote, which you tied back to nicely. You told us you were going to share 3 feelings: feeling homesick, rewarded, and determined. And let's see how you did on that. Your review was fine. I say when you're done with reading it, put the card in your pocket so you have your hands free. Hopefully you get a shorter quote and just memorize it so you don't have the card at all. One of the reasons you went over was your plot summary was too long, and shorten that up and just get right to the point and say, he was new to the prison and they treated him very harshly, and one guy said, "I don't belong here." Bingo. One sentence. And then you told us how basically your parents were too busy to see you off to boarding school, and so they left it to their driver to dump you at boarding school, and you felt abandoned and homesick, and you felt when you saw other parents there making the beds and tucking their kids in for the first night, you felt like, "Oh, what am I, chopped liver?" So that was good. That was a good story. I would like to remind you to say, and that's more vividly, and that's why I felt homesick. Remind us of the emotion you're communicating. On the rewarded emotion, again, the story was a little bit. The thing about getting the beer, Andy got beers for the workers on the roof. Boom, that's enough. And this reminded me of when I was in Honduras and we struggled, but at the end, it was rewarded. And so that was a pretty good story that you told, but remember to return to that emotion that you're trying to communicate in the end and say the word rewarded. On your third emotion, determined, here's where you lost me a little bit. You told us about Andy taking 19 years to get out of prison with a 3-inch long hammer. And then you told us that you were determined to go to school in America. And so you had to study for the SAT, and yet you had to hide that from your parents, or they would punish you or whatever, or forbid you from living or whatever. So what got lost in the story, and when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, is you interjecting. But even though I had to hide the papers every night, I was determined to go to America, and I would pull it out after I did my regular work and study the SAT. I was determined. Make us feel that emotion of how determined you were to get to America. And what we didn't get is the story of how you overcame your dad or your mother's objection that it would be a cold day in heaven before you ever went to school in America. But, that would have been interesting to hear the rest of the story. Summary was fine. Conclusion and tieback were fine. You said, maintain eye contact, use narrative to organize my speech. No notepad other than the quote. How did it go?
I tried to maintain enough eye contact with all parts of the room, so I think I did fine. And I compared to my first speech, I did use more narratives to organize my speech, so it was good. Maybe just the transition could be better.
Yeah.
And the last one, I was holding my notepad for my first story.
Yeah. Then you put it away. And I just dwell more on you remembering your feelings and re-feeling them so we feel them. See, I call it felt sensing. That's how you make an emotional connection to your audience. See? Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, next we'll hear from Iris. Is Iris in the house? No Iris? Okay. How about Liz. Is Liz in the house? Praise the Lord. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
She needs that green stapler.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, Liz, bad news. The battery's almost gone. So, we will